Nash and Kidd are a pair of intertwined names. In 2018, they were both inducted into the Hall of Fame as players and written into the history of the sport of basketball. Moreover, after retirement, both of them also served as head coaches of teams. However, unlike when they were players and it was hard to distinguish between them, this time, the two showed a huge gap in coaching ability. Nash, with a luxurious lineup, only won one round of the series in 2 years. Kidd, on the other hand, led the team to the Western Conference Finals and the Finals in 2 seasons respectively. In this issue, let's talk about Nash's coaching level and exactly where the gap between him and Kidd lies. Nash's coaching career began in the 2020-21 season. In his total of 161 regular season games coached, he achieved a record of 94 wins and 67 losses, with a winning percentage of 58.4%. The playoff record is 7 wins and 9 losses, winning a total of 1 round of the series in 2 years. Although these achievements make him the coach with the highest winning percentage among Nets coaches who have coached at least 75 games in team history, the more mainstream view is that achieving such results is mainly due to the player's own strength. After all, Nash had historical-level stars like KD, Harden, and Irving at the same time, and the team's lineup configuration has always been very luxurious. So, does Nash have any tactics? Honestly, he does, and it's a bit more powerful than many fans realize. Although Nash's tactics are not as rich as those of other tactical masters, he undoubtedly can draw some very beautiful tactics. Not to mention that in 2021, his coaching staff also had big shots like D'Antoni and Udoka. The former is the coach in the NBA who is best at activating point guards, and the latter became the coach who led the team to the finals in his subsequent career. The two are also good at offense and defense respectively. Under the leadership of such big shots, Nash, who is a point guard by origin, cannot fail to grow. This is reflected in the second season of Nash's coaching. He has made a lot of progress in tactics compared to the first season. Especially when Irving was unable to play, Nash won the foundation for entering the playoffs relying on KD's basic game. Here, many people say that Nash only gives the ball to the star players. In fact, this is also a kind of tactic. There is a point on Nash that is often overlooked: his on-site command and dispatch under the thinking of a point guard. Let's talk about this point through his command and dispatch in one round. The following round took place in Game 2 of the Nets and Bucks series. In this round, the Nets were on offense. Irving was originally attracting defense without the ball in the corner. Nash on the sidelines immediately commanded Irving to exchange positions with Joe Harris at the left 45-degree three-point line. After seeing this, Irving high-fived Joe Harris and switched positions, and popped out to receive the ball and personally led the offense in this round. Subsequently, he set a pick-and-roll with Mike James who passed the ball, causing the opponent to switch defenses. But he didn't force his way through. Instead, after seeing the gap in KD's defense, he passed the ball directly. The latter raised his hand and dropped the ball, and hit a three-pointer. If you observe Nash's coaching carefully, you will find that many of his coaching methods are similar to those of players. He will directly tell players on the sidelines how to position for defense, how to open up space, and whether to set a pick-and-roll and so on. Does it feel familiar? Yes, this is what Nash often did during his playing days. He is very good at telling his teammates how to move when he has the ball. In the last issue when we talked about Jokic, we mentioned the so-called tactical commander. Nash is undoubtedly one of them. Coincidentally, Kidd is also a coach who likes to tell players how to position on the sidelines. After these top point guards become coaches, they all wish they could play on the court themselves. In fact, this coaching style is very suitable for superstar players with organizational ability because this kind of coaching does not strictly limit a specific tactic. For comparison, the coach of the Pacers, Carlisle, will strictly require players to position and run according to his tactical board. Although the tactics are very brilliant, the players have very low freedom. Some players with their own tactical ideas, such as Rondo, are likely to have conflicts with him when playing under Carlisle. But coaches like Nash will never be like this. His coaching is all on-the-spot command and on-the-spot judgment of defense. Taking the above round as an example, Irving pointed at himself at the beginning. Obviously, before this round started, he didn't know that he would lead this offense. And the final tactic is just a simple pick and roll to target mismatches. Nash is very good at developing the offense of perimeter players. Of course, this still comes from his background as a guard. He himself knows how to initiate from the perimeter and how to play to create opportunities. Nash's main problems still lie in the timing of calling timeouts and in personnel usage. First of all, regarding calling timeouts, Nash's problem with calling timeouts mainly is that he often doesn't like to call timeouts, and there is also a problem with the timing. The reason for not calling timeouts is more a matter of personal preference and accumulated experience. According to Nash himself, he doesn't like to call timeouts because when coaches called timeouts during his playing days, he wasted a lot of offensive opportunities, so he wants to give players more freedom. However, this cannot explain Nash's immaturity in the timing of calling timeouts. Taking the first season as an example, Nash's timeouts sometimes disrupt the offensive rhythm of his own team and even curb the momentum of consecutive attacks. This situation ultimately stems from insufficient experience. After all, Nash directly became the head coach without being an assistant coach first, so there is a discontinuity in his accumulation of experience. Interestingly, Kidd, like Nash, also doesn't like to call timeouts. He likes to let the players adjust by themselves, but the difference is that his control of timing far exceeds that of Nash. On the high-level stage of the playoffs, when coaches really need to call timeouts accurately, Kidd still shows the advantage of years of coaching experience. As for personnel usage, it is the biggest problem in Nash's coaching. First of all, Nash's high usage of superstars. If the Nets players have an impression, they should all remember the following. As long as Harden in the Nets period doesn't let the game lose suspense early, his playing time is bound to be 40 minutes or more. KD, a player with a major Achilles tendon injury in his 30s, has one of the top playing times in the league and is often above 40 minutes. Irving has relatively less playing time, but mainly because he plays fewer games. His average playing time is not low. In the 2021-22 season, after Irving returned from suspension, all the last 6 games reached 40 minutes, and his playing time was the first in the league during the same period. This is also a point that Nash is criticized by many fans. As a championship contending team, in the regular season, their own core players should not play so much time. Instead, more energy should be reserved for the playoffs. Facts have proved that the fans' views are correct. Due to the long and consistently high playing time, Harden encountered a hamstring strain problem in the playoffs of the first season. Eventually, the Nets lost in Game 7 and were eliminated by the Bucks. Although there are other reasons such as Irving's unexpected injury, there is no doubt that the Nets' elimination is inseparable from Nash's excessive use of superstars. In the second season, KD and Harden still had extremely high playing time, especially KD. Nash's use of KD to the fullest in every game forced KD to exhaust his stamina before the playoffs arrived, and the Nets were finally swept out by the Celtics. The second problem with Nash's personnel usage is his wavering in using players other than superstars and his insufficiently reasonable lineup combinations. In the 161 games during his coaching tenure with the Nets, Nash used a total of 83 different starting lineups. In the 2021-22 season, he used 43 sets. Although there are objective factors such as player injuries and Irving's suspension, changing the starting lineup once every 2 games on average is still extremely outrageous. This situation on the court is roughly that before the players can accumulate chemical reactions, the team changes personnel once, resulting in different experiences for the players every time they take the court. Another example that can support this point is the strange lineup Nash equipped for Harden. Fans all know what kind of lineup Harden is suitable for: a center who finishes dunks and functional shooters. Just open up space and let Harden play freely. But what Nash equipped for Harden is a non-shooting lineup, that is, a lineup that refuses to shoot. There is neither space nor dunking opportunities. At the same time, he requires Harden to speed up and play run and gun, which makes Harden very uncomfortable. Here it should be noted that many people think that Harden left the team because of Irving. But in fact, according to Harden's interview, Nash equipping him with an unsuitable lineup and requiring him to speed up and play run and gun are the biggest reasons for his departure. In general, Nash's coaching has highlights. He can start from the perspective of players and think about problems from the perspective of star players. He is very capable of activating the playing styles of star players and also has a certain tactical ability. But in the end, he still lost due to a serious lack of experience, especially in the crucial aspect of personnel usage. But unfortunately, personnel usage is precisely the core of a coach's coaching and is even more important than tactics. If the Nets' big three had encountered Nash, who had been trained for many years in an assistant coaching position or on a tanking team, the combination of the big three and Nash would definitely have produced completely different results. This is also the biggest gap between him and Kidd. Taking this year's playoffs as an example, Kidd had many brilliant personnel decisions in the playoffs. The first example is the use of Hardy. This guard, who was almost benched during the regular season, was suddenly heavily used in the last two games against the Thunder in the playoffs. This operation seemed very risky at the time, but it was later proven to be a very good personnel decision. Especially in the later Western Conference Finals, Hardy averaged 7.4 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and 0.4 steals in 10.4 minutes per game, with a shooting percentage of 53.8% and a three-point shooting percentage of 60%, becoming a very surprising point on the bench. Another example is Kleber. In the regular season stage, Kleber didn't seem like a player who could play in the NBA at all. But Kidd unwaveringly let him play a large amount of time even in critical moments. For this reason, Kidd even encountered abuse from fans. But in the first round of the playoffs against the Clippers, when the whole team's three-point shooting was off target, Kleber suddenly broke out and became one of the most important three-point scorers. His help defense performance also far exceeded expectations. He is a very important reason why the Mavericks can win the series. But if it were Nash in such games, he would probably not dare to use these marginal players in the eyes of fans. This is the biggest gap between him and Kidd. In addition, there is another point of comparison between Nash and Kidd in terms of coaching defense. Nash almost only lets players switch defenses and then execute help defense and double teams. But Kidd has many more tricks. For example, in this year's playoffs, Kidd used a very impressive zone defense strategy. It can be seen that his coaching of defense is definitely top-notch in the league. Objectively speaking, Kidd didn't have this kind of coaching ability at the beginning either. He also grew step by step from a rookie. Especially when coaching the Bucks, except for coaching Antetokounmpo, he was almost completely failing in other aspects. Therefore, Nash's biggest mistake is actually not his coaching level, but getting a max-level account at the rookie stage, which led to him having no time and tolerance to grow and directly ended his coaching career. But I believe Nash still has a chance. However, if he still wants to come back, he should start from being an assistant coach.